still the MMA dude, back with the Split Decision podcast, episode number 39, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing excellent. Happy to be back at it, talking fights with you.
Awesome. So here's a quick little preview for what's on tap today, folks. First, we're going to do a preview. First, we're going to look back at UFC Vancouver, do a UFC Vancouver recap. Then we're going to do a UFC Mexico City preview and picks, dive into that card a little bit. After that, my favorite section, listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, let me start off the episode with this question for you. We saw quite an impressive performance from Justin Gaethje this weekend, defeating Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Round one, 4 minutes and 18 seconds into the first round. I personally thought it was a late stoppage, but that's besides the point. Here's the question. Should Justin, in your opinion, wait for the winner of Khabib versus Tony, or should he pursue a fight with Conor McGregor in the meantime?
Tough question. I like both scenarios, to be honest with you. I'll take either one.
Yeah, right.
But he says he wants to take a little bit of a break, and if you listen to his post-fight comments, he mentioned that he's basically fighting every 8 months, which means that time frame leaves him more likely to fight the winner of Tony versus Khabib, in my opinion, because I believe we'll see Conor back versus someone sooner than 8 months. Now, I'm kind of reading between the lines there, trying to kind of put together the scenario, but I don't see Gaethje fighting again before the end of this year, and I think Conor at some point is going to want to fight. So I just don't think the time frames will match up. I'm not sure Conor really wants that fight. So there's a lot of variables there. But I would say, what was the question? What do I think will happen, or what do I want to happen?
This was really, what do you think Justin should do? So for Justin's interests.
For Justin's interests, I think waiting out for the winner of Tony versus Khabib, hypothetically, is the best decision. But Tony versus Khabib, is not booked yet. So there's a lot of, goodwill that would go into taking that route, because we're hearing GSP rumors. Conor's rematch is always on the tip of Dana's tongue. So there's really no guarantees that him sitting out, he will get that next title shot. So it's a sticky situation, but I think we'll see him in 8 months. I think it'll be versus the winner of Khabib and his next opponent, which I do believe will be Tony Ferguson.
Ooh, fascinating. All right, guys, it's getting interesting fast here. Episode 39. I like how you just picked Tony formally over Khabib, huh?
No, I said I picked Tony formally to be Khabib's next matchup.
Oh, you just killed the interest. Oh, come on, just pretend you just picked Tony. We'll just say that. We'll go with that.
Of course. All
right. So let me ask you this. This is fascinating here, Fight Geek. You just said that you really don't see Justin versus Conor happening because Conor's got to fight soon and Justin's going to take a big break. So let me ask you this. Who's Conor fighting?
I have no idea. I mean, like I said, that title that rematch is always on the tip of Dana's tongue. I know Khabib and his team strongly insist that Conor will have to win a fight before he gets that match. But, we've seen this stuff happen before. So it's really hard telling. Conor, I mean, I halfway expect him to take a fight versus Frankie Edgar or something like that. But I just don't see how that would even be relevant.
But what does that even do for Conor? Let's say he smokes Edgar. What does that even do?
Well, any win for Conor is going to be positive press and build him back up. So I think he would like that as an advantageous win. It's a big name, but yeah, it's obviously not a clear indicator that he's a number one contender. It's just a way for the UFC to get him back in there versus a winnable opponent with a big name to prop Conor back up and get him back on the upswing. That's what he needs in order to justify the title shot. It's not just the pay-per-view draw, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, here's my quick take on it, and I understand that a lot of folks are sick and tired of hearing about Conor. I don't blame them. I think me and you are both right there with him, frankly. But really quick, what I think needs to happen for Conor's sake is that, I think he's bleeding fans by the day. I think he's bleeding hundreds of fans by the day, if not thousands. He needs to fight Justin Gaethje because, let's be real, Conor McGregor's Conor McGregor. He isn't, I don't think he deserves a title shot. I think the fans will really, really rebel if he gets that title shot right now. But at the same time, he's not going to fight, 2, 3, 4 fights to get to the title, right?
Right. No, it's just one fight.
Right. And that's exactly why Gaethje makes all the sense in the world.
Is Gaethje, that makes perfect sense. Tony versus Khabib for the belt.
Yup.
And then Conor versus Justin for a true #1 contender matchup.
Absolutely.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. So the last question, then we'll move on here. Do you think that Conor is ducking Justin? And part of the reason I say that, folks, I'm not sure if you've been following on social media, but Conor tweeted a few days ago, possibly in response to Dustin, although it was not, in detailed response to him. He said Dublin on December 14th, I think, is the date for UFC 245, which doesn't really make sense. Sounds like maybe he was intoxicated. But then Justin...
Well, what I find interesting about that, and tell me if you are aware of this, but didn't Justin Gaethje, hasn't he been quoted as saying that he would love to go into Ireland and knock out Conor McGregor? I can almost guarantee that he's been quoted as saying that, right?
Not only has he said that, you beat me to the punch, because Justin, I believe just earlier today, he responded directly to Conor's tweet and said, with a screenshot of him DMing Conor saying,
right,
let's fight in Dublin, I want the chaos.
Well, was that Conor giving him the kind of the carrot right there, saying, all right, you asked for it, I'm down for it? Well,
and I think Justin just said, let's go.
Well, I guess it's in well, obviously, I think the UFC on short notice building a pay-per-view in Ireland is going to be a stretch, but I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the move for Conor to make. Some diehard Conor fans would say things like, oh, it's a sketchy matchup, he's had a big break. The truth is, Conor's put himself into this corner. That's on him.
I mean, what do you mean it's a sketchy matchup? Yeah, Justin Gaethje's a killer. It's a sketchy matchup.
Yeah.
The guy's knocked out his last 3 opponents in less than 3.5 minutes, and they've all been laser sniper shots, so.
Yep.
And Justin's about that. He's going to put Conor through a meat grinder. I don't know if that's exactly, the best matchup for Conor, but as far as being a true #1 contender match, that would make all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. Okay, so with that, let's segue to the formal UFC Vancouver recap. Justin Gaethje defeating Cowboy Cerrone in the first round, 4 minutes and 18 seconds in the first round. And I thought it was a late stoppage. I can't believe some people said it was an early stoppage. They must want Cowboy to die. Literally, they must want his death.
Certainly wasn't an early stoppage.
No,
I didn't hear much of that.
Yeah, no, I saw people saying it. Oh, trust me. But what did you make of the performance? I mean, Justin is just transformed.
The performance was amazing. I've always been a huge fan of Trevor Whitman. I'm going to start there. You look at people like Rose Namajunas and how much she's improved under him and the technical striking that he has been able to implement in her game plan. Justin, who was a brawler, is now starting to implement a lot more of a technical, his footwork's a little better. He's getting out of the way a little better. He's always had really short, tight, powerful counter hooks. But now he's really using his head and setting them up. Couldn't have been more impressed with him. I think his boxing has looked amazing versus a guy like Cowboy Cerrone, who's a legendary striker. Notoriously slow starter. That's why I picked Gaethje. I think that kind of showed. Donald Cerrone didn't get one head kick off in that whole in that whole fight. So, and I think we all know Donald Cerrone for kind of setting up those kicks, disguising them with straight punches, and then coming around with those kicks, and he's legendary for that. So him not even be able to get those kind of looks really tells you that Justin was where he needed to be the whole night, and then he landed that big counter right on the button. Cowboy straight collapsed to his knees like a sack of potatoes. There's no justification for that. He was looking straight down with his palms on the mat. That is the definition of not intelligently defending yourself, in my opinion.
Yep, totally agree. True or false? Because I tweeted this earlier. Would love to hear your take on this. This was my opinion, and you can say whether you agree or not. True or false? Justin's back-to-back losses to Alvarez and Poirier were the best thing that could have happened to him.
I would say, based on the way they went down, yes, they certainly were. Because he wasn't outclassed in either of them. He gave both of those world-class fighters all they could handle without a great game plan. So he even said in his post-fight comments that those two losses, especially the Dustin Poirier loss, showed him what he was doing wrong. And now with a coach like Trevor Whitman, he's been able to make those adjustments. And I think it's super clear when he fights just how different he is.
Yep, totally agree with that. And then normally, obviously, we do listener questions at the end, but this listener question was so good, it's so relevant to right now, I had to ask you now. This is from EDS, that's at Shot of Scotch. He says, do you think back-to-back losses to Tony and Gaethje will help Cowboy in a similar way that back-to-back losses that Gaethje suffered helped him?
It is a great question, but I'm going to say no. Simply
agreed.
Because Gaethje was just being introduced to the highest level in the UFC when he had those kind of stumbles, where Cowboy Cerrone is, I think he's 7 or 8 years older than Gaethje. He's more of a finished product at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Still elite, but I just don't think he has that ability to change all that much in his career. So I think Cerrone's a little more of a finished product. I don't see him making quite the same bounce back that Justin did. But I still certainly think that Cowboy Cerrone, there's many guys in that division he can beat. He can still put on all kinds of exciting fights. So I know there's been a lot of people calling for his retirement. I certainly think that's a little premature.
I agree that it's premature. Absolutely.
He just lost to Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje.
I understand.
For crying out loud.
Of course.
Both of those guys are in line for a title shot in the best division in MMA history. Give the guy a break.
Let me put it this way. I think that the people that are saying that are coming from a good place because I see Cowboy getting that 9, 10, 11, 12 loss streak. And, because he's just so game.
No, he will never get that.
Well, he's just so game.
But he's just fighting the elite of the elite until he starts losing to the John McDessies and the Adriano Martins, or the kind of guys that he's been knocking out throughout his career, the fringe guys,
Yeah.
He's still gonna put those guys away. If you put Cowboy Cerrone in there with the number 17th ranked 155er, I probably like Cowboy Cerrone's chances. Is he gonna beat Tony Ferguson on a 12-fight winning streak and a streaking Justin Gaethje in his prime? That's a little bit much to ask, in my opinion.
Yeah. True. And then last question, then we're moving on because we definitely have a lot to cover here. Who do you think Cowboy should fight next? I think Paul Felder's the fight. I think it should happen in January, and if it's any time before that, I think it's too soon for Cowboy.
See, I don't think that, because I think we should stop using Cowboy as the litmus test. Litmus test,
yep.
For a contender. He's not that guy. So I'd rather see Paul Felder fight a guy like Dustin Poirier, who really is the fourth best lightweight in the world right now. Where a Cowboy Cerrone, in my opinion, can go back and have some fun fights. Like fight Anthony Showtime Pettis when he comes back from injury. Fight something like that where there's no title implications, but he can make his money, he can show out, he can fight another big name. I mean, there's plenty of guys for Cerrone to fight. but they just don't need to be the top 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys in the world right now.
Well, neither is Felder. He's like, what, 7? You don't like the Felder Cowboy fight?
I've heard, Felder is, I think Felder mentioned running back the Barbosa fight for a trilogy. So,
he doesn't truly want that next.
I hope not. I don't want to see that again next.
Yeah, no. It's time to move on. You're the one who's saying I'm always obsessed with rematches. I'm saying no, move on.
That was he's the one who mentioned it. What I'm saying is I don't think Cowboy Cerrone should be fighting the top 6 guys in the lightweight division. I think he's a perfect, I don't want to use the term gatekeeper because I do believe he's still more skilled than that, but you can't keep running him out there against the Tony Fergusons, the Justin Gaethjes, those kind of guys. If anything, here's a matchup that we've never seen. Both guys coming off of losses. Dustin Poirier versus Cowboy Cerrone.
I don't dislike it.
I just went back on everything I just tried to say, but it is a good fight.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Glover Teixeira defeats Nikita Krylov via split decision. What'd you take away from this one? Glover kind of, showed, no signs of aging here from the old wizard man.
Yeah, Glover is, he is just a dense old man. He is just hard to move around. He's very powerful. When you let him get off his counter hooks, he can really, really straighten you up and keep you honest. He looks like he weighs about a metric ton when he gets on top of you. So although he's lost quite a bit of speed, quite a bit of quickness, he's still extremely powerful. And the thing about Glover that I'm not sure everybody really understands is that he's very smart. He's a very smart mixed martial artist. He's adapted many times based on kind of his deteriorating skills, still finding ways to win. I had taken Nikita Krylov just because I thought he would actually be more athletic and be able to implement more of his game. So really couldn't be more impressed with Glover. I do think his days as a title contender are over, but he's like the perfect gatekeeper to find out who's a contender at 205.
Yep, hard to disagree with that. Okay, so moving on to the third fight down. This was one of the strangest fights that I've ever seen, and I have seen just about all of them, folks. Todd Duffy versus Jeff Hughes ends in a no contest via accidental eye poke, 4 minutes and 3 seconds into the first round. Fight Geek, start this one off. Because I took Hughes, you took Duffy beforehand. What'd you make of this?
But was Duffy winning up till that point? No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm not going to come on here and defend Duffy. I'm not sure.
Duffy wanted out, and he got scared. Let's be honest.
I don't know if he got scared. I have no idea what happened in that fight. But, he didn't have any visible damage to that eye. He
kept saying he was seeing double, and he knows what happens when you say that. It means you get out of the fight.
That's why I posed the question. And then the doctor was actually going to let him go back. And he insisted that he was seeing double, which then handcuffs the doctor into saying the fight is off. I just don't understand having a 4-year layoff, challenging the media on fight week, saying that they crush fighters, then giving the media a reason to crush you. And then didn't he no-show Ariel Helwani's show?
Yep, so, I was going to say that. He no-showed.
I think he got an F- for his performance on the week. Let's just put it that way.
An F-. I was a student for many years. I've gotten many a grade, including a few Fs even, and I've never once gotten an F-.
Okay, maybe.
But that could be no. I agree. I give him an F- as well. But that's really got to be demoralizing.
I just cannot believe he went out of his way to criticize the media for giving fighters a hard time, and then he literally gave the media all the ammo in the world to give him a hard time.
Yeah. Do you think he gets cut? Maybe.
He said he was on a new contract, so I don't think that's happening. But at this point, force him to fight Greg Hardy. There's enough of a chance that he could hurt Greg Hardy, and if Greg Hardy hurts him, I don't think anybody's going to be worse for the wear out of that one. So
you know what? That's the best Greg Hardy matchup I've heard in a long time.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I was wanting that fight if he won, but even if he lost or no contest or no whatever, I think Todd Duffy would certainly be the biggest name opponent that Greg Hardy's ever faced.
Oh, yeah. No, I like that a lot. I actually like that a lot. Okay, moving on. Arguably the story of the night, I would argue, okay? Tristan Connolly defeats Michel Pereira via unanimous decision. Woo! What a fight, what a story. Guys, if you're not aware, Michel Pereira had no opponent literally, 9 days ago. There was a late dropout of his opponent. They chose Tristan Connolly, this Canadian out of nowhere who just, he wasn't even signed by the UFC.
And he's a 155er. He was literally supposed to come in and be the highlight.
Yeah. What did you make of that? Because, oh my gosh, what a fight.
Is Pereira the best breakdancer in the UFC?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw what all of you saw. I was... Obviously, when he did the backflip in the first round, thought it was super cool. Definitely something I hadn't seen before, but I think he ended up looking like a fool with how much he wasted his energy. He gassed. He gets beaten by a guy on, 5 days notice? From the weight class below him. He looked like he was 2 weight classes larger than him. He missed weight. I mean, it's literally a manifesto on what not to do on fight week.
Yep, so. I totally agree. I feel very...
But with that being said, the acrobatics were still cool. If he could have landed a kick or a punch off of one of them,
Oh, absolutely. I was just gonna say, if Pereira had the cardio to pull that off for 15 minutes for real, that would be something else.
Or just use it. I mean, he had Connolly on the ground, and to break his guard, he did a backflip stomp into it. If he just and it was
so ridiculous.
It was a vertical 2-footed backflip stomp. So if you've ever even tried to dunk a basketball 2-footed, you understand how much explosion it takes to do that and how much energy it takes. So to do that in the midst of combat is it's insanity. I'd like to see him still use his gifts, just a little more intelligently and pick his spots more. You don't need to do a whole breakdance and 2 backflips before the second round starts. I think that's a little too much.
Not to mention his walkout took, 10 minutes? I mean, what was that?
6 minutes. Well, that's what I mean. That was like a choreographed dance.
Yeah, it was like a choreographed. Exactly. He was like one of the Backstreet Boys. Like, what's going on?
Were you not entertained?
I mean, I was, but I think I look. By
the third round, I think everybody was like, "Really, dude?"
And I respect the hell out of theatrics in MMA, but I think that Michel Pereira ended up kind of humiliating himself.
Well, considering the other guy ended up making $130,000 and he made like 10, I'd say it didn't work out very well for him.
Yeah. Quick question. Do you think Tristan Connolly has already said he's definitely going back to lightweight. He's a lightweight fighter. Do you see him going deep? What's his ceiling?
Yeah, it's hard to say because he was gifted opportunities in that fight by a guy who was acting a fool.
I mean, to his credit, he beat Pereira fair and square.
He beat him, but before Pereira got tired, he was landing heavy shots and had him in trouble in a couple instances.
Yeah,
not that that's a poor reflection on Connolly because Pereira is a good striker. And was much bigger, but it's that was more of a war of attrition, and he had better cardio and won a decision. It wasn't like he was outclassing Pereira.
Yeah, I have to agree.
But I don't see him as like a top 10 lightweight, but again, I haven't seen enough of him to see what really he looks like at lightweight. He looked tiny. He reminded me of like an Evan Dunham type while I was watching him, so just to give you like a comparison.
I like that comparison, actually. Are we ready to move on to Uriah Hall versus Shoeface?
Yeah, this was interesting.
Okay, I thought this was fascinating because I was absolutely shocked by the split decision win for Hall. I understand the arguments for Uriah Hall. They're saying, well, there was more damage done. That's all fine and dandy, and that's nice, but this isn't Pride rules. And, okay, true or false, Fight Geek, true or false? 5 years ago, Shoeface would have won a unanimous decision, no question.
I don't know that because Shoeface
What?
got split wide
What?
open in the first and wobbled in the first. And he was
Whoa!
basically out of
He
gas.
wasn't that badly wobbled in the first. He
you
was on
crazy?
his back most of the first.
He got his eyes split in the first, right?
He got the second is when Hall did damage.
Well, I actually had him winning the second with his grappling. I had Hall winning the first and the third, I believe.
Wait, what? Really?
Maybe
no. I think you must be mistaken. Respectfully, Hall did a lot of damage. Hall almost got the fight stopped in the second.
Well, maybe it was. I'm not. Maybe I don't remember that one too well. But I was okay with the Hall win. Shoeface was gassed, dead tired for most of the fight. He was doing a lot of like desperate takedown attempts. So I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed with his performance. So I was perfectly comfortable with Hall winning that fight.
Okay. Do you have do you have anyone in mind for Uriah Hall next?
At 185.
He's number 11 right now. Do you want me to read out the people in front of him?
No, I think Brunson would be interesting. Have they fought before, off the top of my head? I don't think they have.
Off the top of my head, I don't think so, but I don't feel confident in that one. Uriah Hall. And now, of course, my computer's freezing. I don't dislike that.
No, I think that's a good matchup for him. They're both coming off wins. I'm sure Brunson's floating around like 8 to 10 range.
They fought. Brunson won at UFC Fight Night Poirier versus Johnson in 2016. Brunson won via TKO.
Yep.
1 minute 41.
Let's run it back.
Run it back. You know what? I'm in. I say yes.
Let's let Uriah have a chance to redeem himself. Where's Brunson ranked right now?
Brunson is ranked 8. Yeah.
He might be looking upward. I don't know. What else do we got behind? What do we got behind Hall on the rankings?
Number 12 is Brad Tavares. 13, Shoeface. 14, Edmund Shabazian. 15, Omari Akhmedov.
You don't want to. He's a veteran, man. You don't want to put him in there. What about this? What about the Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva fight we never got? Or is Anderson still super hurt from that leg kick he took from Cannonier?
He's
checked kick.
And Anderson has lost being ranked. He's no longer ranked. So
interesting.
Yeah. But I don't dislike that fight, for the record.
Yeah, I kind of dislike it. Just now that I remember Silva lost to Jared Cannonier.
Okay, well then who do you want Uriah to fight? Oh, you want the Brunson rematch.
Yeah, I think that's the safest bet.
What about Heinisch?
Oh, that's a good fight, but Heinisch just lost to...
Yeah, Heinisch just lost, but it's still 11 versus 10 with Uriah Hall being 11.
That could interest both guys. Then Uriah can move up a spot. I don't know. I don't think Uriah Hall has ever been ranked in the top 10 of his division in his career, off the top of my head. So that would appeal to him, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the last fight of the main card. Misha Serkinov defeats Jimmy Crute via submission. Peruvian necktie, 3 minutes and 38 seconds into the first round. And I'm not sure about this. I think it was only the second Peruvian necktie of all time in UFC history.
Correct.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so what did you make of that performance?
Obviously, you got to love that performance. Jim Crute was kind of a streaking 205 prospect, big, muscular, strong guy who's looked good in his first couple fights. So for Serkinov to turn back a prospect and do it in highlight reel fashion, always a good look. So I was super impressed with him. Physically, he obviously always looks the part. He's always in great shape. He's a deceptive grappler, though, as we saw. Where's he ranked? You got that pulled up?
Yes, I do. Sure. Serkinov is 13, moving up from 15.
He should be higher than that in that division.
Who do you like next for him?
Where's Anthony Smith?
Number 3. Are you kidding?
Kind of like.
Yo, Lionheart would wipe the floor with Serkinov. Are we being serious?
Well, isn't the rest of that division all tied up?
Who's Ilir Latifi fighting next?
Well, he just lost pretty badly.
Yeah, but he's still ranked ahead of Serkinov. Glover? What about Glover? They may have fought before, for sure. Actually,
I like Glover versus Anthony Smith, but that's another story.
wait, let me see if... Oh, yeah. Okay, so Misha lost to Glover at the end of 2017.
Recently.
Yeah, at the end of 2017, TKO in the first round for UFC on Fox, Lawler versus Dos Anjos. So what about running that one back?
I think there's too many fresh matchups.
Okay, so who do you like for Misha?
Well, there's a couple 205ers we've seen recently that I can't remember the name.
You said Anthony Smith, I guess.
Well, Anthony Smith will work. Yeah, Anthony Smith's got to fight someone soon, doesn't he?
He's injured though. He's got a messed up hand. I know for a fact that he was offered John Jones for either 244 or 245, and he had to decline the rematch because of his hand.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we've spent too much time on this one, but did want to call out Jan Blachowicz is fighting Jacare Souza at 205. Did you hear that?
I did.
Is that the weirdest fight you've ever heard of?
Yeah, this is what I honestly think. I think a ton of middleweights saw success at light heavyweight for Lionheart and for Santos, and they had a foolish lack of respect for Smith and Santos and said, oh, those are two bums, so if they're doing well, then we can do even better. Nah, you're just being casuals, even though you're fighters. Which I'm now making a thing, which is possible. But anyways, they're underestimating 205. You can tell, just ask Luke Rockhold how his dance with Jan Blachowicz went. So, do I think, Jacare is going to get a title fight at 205? Absolutely not.
Do you think he'll have more success than Anthony Smith?
No. Anthony Smith has been very successful. Jones has been
Correct. But Souza is a complete different tier of fighter at 185. You don't think that translates at all?
We're going to see, no? We're going to see.
All right, we're going to see.
Yeah.
All right, sorry to sidetrack you. Let's keep it moving.
All right. So I think the only other fight I wanted to mention was just Luis Smolka looking sick, defeating Ryan McDonald in the first round, 4:43 of the first round via TKO punches, bantamweight fight. Smolka's back, right?
Yeah, he's been looking a lot better recently. I think we mentioned it before. He's got his sobriety. He's kind of changed his life. He's been looking a lot better. This was the best he'd looked with strikes, in my opinion. So big win for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we ready to move on to UFC Mexico City?
Let's do it.
All right, UFC Mexico City. So the main event, Yair Rodriguez versus Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens, featherweight main event. Who you got, Fight Geek?
I actually love this main event. I think it's going to be pins and needles the whole time. I'm a big Yair Rodriguez fan, so I'm trying not to let that cloud my judgment, because I do truly believe that Jeremy Stevens is one of the most dangerous knockout artists in the UFC, regardless of weight class. He is destructive when he gets a hold of you.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been watching this a long time. Jeremy Stevens has been around forever, since he was a very young guy. Now he's a very seasoned vet. So, I mean, his strength of schedule is as good as you'll find anywhere. He's fought everyone. So this is an incredibly tough fight for Yair to come in and win. But with that being said, I am going to take Yair, and I think he's going to pick Stevens apart from the outside. Obviously, we know what we get with Yair. He's going to be flashy in and out. He's going to have a lot of kicks. Obviously, an incredibly versatile striker. I don't. I see. Goodness, it's so hard because Jeremy Steven is so tough to finish. But I'm going to take Yair by 4th round TKO.
All right. I like it. So, just for the record, if you're looking at Vegas odds, it's just about a pick 'em. Rodriguez is a minus 119 versus Stevens minus 111. Just about a pick 'em. I thought a lot about this fight. I was, my heart was tempted to go with Stevens, especially after, I don't know if you heard on this week's Ariel Helwani show that Stevens was interviewed. He was talking a lot about training with Tony Ferguson. That was really making me kind of gain confidence in Stevens. Having said that, Mexico City, they're fighting, obviously, high up.
A home game for Yair, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And, there's a serious altitude factor, right? So I think that if the whole question here, in my opinion, is going to come down to, can Yair survive the early barrage? And if he does, I think he's going to win. My guess is that he does survive that early barrage, and I see Rodriguez winning a unanimous decision.
Yeah, it's going to be very dangerous, though, because all Stevens has to do is get that chin one time, knock him off balance, and he is a finisher. So I'm not super confident in my pick. I think it's going to be a great pins and needles fight. Big Yair fan. This is a chance for him in Mexico City, headlining a card to really develop his star. He's coming off of one of the best knockouts you'll ever see versus a fan favorite. This is a big main event for him. So this is really his chance to kind of wipe away all the little whatever controversy in the past and kind of become that star that the UFC has kind of been wanting him to become, in my opinion.
Yep, totally agree. All right, moving on to the co-main event. We've got Grasso versus Esparza. Can I take this first?
Sure, another great fight.
Another great fight. And I don't want to go into too much detail on this because there's definitely a great listener question that essentially focuses on this. But I do have Alexa Grasso winning this fight via unanimous decision over the very tough and very game Carla Esparza.
All right, well, we'll save the breakdown then because I agree. I'm taking Alexa Grasso by unanimous decision. I just think her striking is a little too technical for Esparza. Esparza will be game. She'll probably try to get it to the ground. I do expect Grasso to be able to keep it standing enough to win the fight.
Okay, all right. Moving on to flyweight third fight. Brandon Moreno versus Askar Askarov. Who you got, baby?
Sleeper fight. This should be an action fight. This should be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody really likes the new guy and is the 10-0, the undefeated prospect, but I'm going to take Brandon Moreno here. I like Brandon Moreno.
All right.
For Brandon Moreno, he's obviously Mexico City. This is a chance for him to shine. This kid was the youngest guy on the Tough Latin America show, right? I get all these mixed up, but I believe he was one of the youngest guys on the show. He ended up losing to Pantoja, ended up getting a short notice fight in the UFC, had some great results early. Even fights he lost, he's very game. So I expect this to be a wild, up-tempo matchup, and I'm actually going to take Brandon Moreno by third round submission.
Wow. All right.
Taking a flyer here.
Okay. So, I gotta be honest, I disagree, okay? I'm taking Askarov via second round submission. I've seen his record. I've seen some of his highlights. I think this guy is for real. He's undefeated for a reason, and he's extremely dangerous. And,
you don't know UFC debut jitters, none of that?
No, I don't think so. Give me Askarov.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
We can go against each other on that one.
Oh, yeah. That's when it's best. And really quick, We've got, is it Betch Correa versus Sarge Eubanks? Is that how you say it?
I think you did it right. Yep.
Okay. Should I
Who
go
do I
first?
got?
Yeah, who you got?
I'm taking Sarge Eubanks versus the very hittable Betch Cojeda.
I am also taking Sarge Eubanks over the very hittable Betch Correa. And I'm going to say second round TKO.
I'm going to say by third round TKO.
Ooh. Hashtag split podcast. All right, so
All right.
are we done with Mexico City?
Sergio Pettis has a fight on the card, correct?
Yes, Sergio does. Thank you for pointing that out.
So this is a big bounce back fight for Sergio Pettis. He's had some mixed reviews. Definitely a name to watch on this card. I think there's a fun matchup. Paul Craig is on the card, taking him to win, and a really tough matchup for him. Irene Aldana is on the card. Another pretty good fighter, one to watch. Anything else you want to call out?
No, but I am taking Sergio over, I believe his opponent is Tyson Nam. Is that correct?
Yes, and Tyson Nam has some good footage as well.
Absolutely. I think Sergio is re-energized with the now that flyweight feels a little bit more solidified, and I think Sergio is going to take the win via unanimous decision.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to call out on this one, or should we move on to the listener questions?
I think we're good, so we're going to take a really quick break, folks, and then be back with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.totalaggressionclothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.totalaggressionclothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 39, and it's time for my favorite section of all, the listener questions! I've been practicing that.
I can tell. You're getting better.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Lots of questions. Thanks to everybody who takes the time to send us a question and talk about MMA with us. You guys keep the show going, so we appreciate each and every one of you. First one. Should we do the sappy one first? Okay, Paul McNuggets O'Kelly asks, hard to believe episode 39 is upon us. Thank you both for such an amazing podcast, which I and lots others love. The question is there any standout memories or moments in your journey of the podcast up to this time? Also, will Fight Geek promise to unmute Phil? Well, I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not Phil is muted. But
the answer is yes, I'm muted. And the answer is he'll never unmute me, by the way.
Well, maybe I just have the word John Jones muted and you talk about him so much that you're muted by default.
Oh, stop. I've behaved myself.
I know. You've been so much better. Okay. Do you have any top moments of the podcast experience thus far?
Yeah. So, first of all, we have to keep this appropriate so that we don't. Yeah. So, first of all, that. Second of all, episode 22 has always jumped out to me because that's when we talk about how we met and our history together and the corny music plays. So guys, if you want to know more about how me and Fight Geek met and our background, how the show came about, it's episode 22. So check that out.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
So is that your answer?
Yeah. I mean, there's other funny moments, but I'm not saying them until we make more money.
Oh. Well, I think my favorite moment was our first guest interviewing Gary Tonin.
Oh,
Had a
yeah.
great time
Good
with
call.
Gary. Kind of a milestone for us to interview a fighter, a prospect who's very prominent and relevant. Couldn't have been a cooler guy. Made time for us. So that was really cool on the podcasting side. So
Totally agree. Great. That Gary Tonin episode was 17 is my guess.
I believe so.
Yeah,
17.
and then
you remember our episodes like you remember the UFC cards. It's insane.
I know. Well, I listened to them way too much to critique myself, but that's besides the point. And then, guys, this is a little bit of a side thing, but I will just DM me. I will give someone a prize if they DM me and guess which episode. You got to get it right on the first guess. Which episode was shortened because I was a little too drunk. If you get it right, you're getting a prize.
If you get it right, you get a Total Aggression clothing hat and shirt.
You hear that, guys?
If anybody can identify which episode we had to trim down due to Phil's sobriety, no.
No, and there
let
really
us know.
is an answer. There's one episode. There's a totally correct answer, and if you get it right, you're getting a reward.
And for the record, that was my least favorite episode.
All right. Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving.
Fine. Wait, can I say one last thing? I'm going to say one last thing. And Fight Geek's not going to like this. The one last memory I have is episode number 2020 was one of our best episodes. Fight Geek texted me, in the middle of, because he does the back end. He does a lot of work on the back end, guys, so give him a round of applause. But he was like, oh, man, I hate this episode. It's, really bad. And I was like, oh, no, then maybe we shouldn't, air it. And it was, our most popular episode by far when it came out.
Well, there's a couple of fun facts about us. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Are you ready? Do you have one?
I do have one from Driver at Baby23. Driver says, I believe Tony Ferguson is the man to beat Khabib. I see all this talk about Gaethje being the right man to beat Khabib, but I believe Tony Ferguson has the best tools to crack such an uncrackable code. Do you guys believe that Ferguson, Gaethje, or someone else is the man? Ask Split Pod. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, I've been pretty outspoken on this. I truly do believe deep down in my heart that Tony Ferguson is the one who will beat Khabib. I know that's not popular. I know a lot of people say, oh, Khabib's going to crush him. But I would just offer this. The way I see it going really fast is Khabib dominating for 2 rounds at least, possibly 3, gassing ever so slightly in championship rounds, and that's all Tony's going to need for the submission. So that's how I see it going.
Yeah, I don't see Khabib ever losing via submission, personally. So
not even against Tony, who's a killer off his back.
No, because I think what you're saying is if Khabib gets tired, Tony has the ability to keep him on the feet and slash him up, cut him up, put him in uncomfortable positions, give him, we've never seen Khabib with a swollen eye. We've never seen him with a cut. We've never seen him with a bloody lip. We've literally never seen him work through any real adversity. He gets a flash right hook and stumbles for a millisecond, and we think we've seen something. So what Tony would be able to do, in my opinion, with his crazy, unorthodox striking is be able to really get to Khabib if he gets tired. We saw Khabib tired versus Al. Al's rudimentary striking didn't really allow him to take advantage of that. Similarly with Conor. Conor had his opportunities on the feet to strike back and forth, but wasn't able to really take advantage of those because he's not that unorthodox. Dustin, same thing. Dustin is very rudimentary in his striking, comes at you very kind of orthodox. And you could see Dustin was clearly thinking about the takedown and way out of his striking realm versus Khabib. So I do think Tony has the striking ability to really give Khabib problems when he gets tired. But then again, we don't know what that fight will look like. Maybe Tony will be nervous about the takedown the same way that everybody else is and unable to have his natural flowing offense. So not sure what I'm saying here. I do think Tony's the best matchup to beat him. I just don't think it's via submission.
Okay, very fair.
So I'm just disagreeing with you specifically, Phil.
Surprise, surprise. What
All
a
right,
shocker.
Moving on?
Yeah, moving on.
All right, I've got one from Fighting With Myself podcast.
Juice, what up?
It says, regardless of who you pick for the main event of Mexico City, what do you think is the best outcome for the divisions? In other words, who does the UFC want to win? The fact that Yair is headlining in Mexico City, I believe, tells you exactly what they're hoping for. Yair having a big win over Stevens, excuse me, will give them another big player in that division. A young prospect who you can match up with Zabit, who you can match up with an Aldo, who you can match up with all kinds of names and draw. So I think it's clear they're setting this up for Yair. And I think you can look at someone like Alexis Grasso on the same card who, this is set up to be a showcase for her versus a former champion as well. I think the UFC would love for both of them to win and build stars in that market off of.
100% agree. I think that the UFC definitely wants Yair to win that fight. And, again, as Fight Geek just said, the fact that it's taking place in Mexico City really gives that away. Agreed.
Cool. All right, we'll keep it moving. Aiden at XAidenC
Aiden,
asks,
what up?
who do you think is a fighter that gets too much hate? Phil, don't say Kevin Lee. Ask Split Pod. You got somebody else?
I wanted to say Kevin Lee.
I don't know why, but he deserves his hate. Did you hear the Ali Akinta interview where he said Kevin Lee needed a brain transplant?
Yeah.
It was the highlight of my week, for real. It was hilarious.
Why do you hate Kevin Lee? Why you hate him?
I don't hate Kevin Lee, but Al has beat him twice and has the ability to say that he needs a brain transplant. I just think it's hilarious. So,
don't think
so?
Okay, no. I hear you. I'm just trying to think of how hard that question is. Who do I think, gets too much crap?
I have a clear answer that I feel pretty strongly about. So I'll say Jermaine Durandamy gets way too much hate, in my opinion.
Wow, totally disagree.
Wow, big surprise.
I think all of her hate is justified.
This is my answer. What's yours?
Yeah, so I just had one. Now you broke my train of thought. So thanks a lot, bro. No, on a serious note, you know what? I think that,
stick up for your boy Triple C. He gets quite a bit of hate.
There's so many. The problem is there's so many. Triple C, but then at the same time, Gaethje. Because Gaethje got a lot of crap.
Gaethje gets hate?
Yes, about the Dustin and Alvarez back-to-back losses. People, oh my gosh, they harp on that all the time. I'm like, shut up, get over it.
Still harping on that?
Yes, and it's like, get over it. He made adjustments, move on.
Ah, goodness, he's 21-2.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a
If you're not undefeated, you suck. No.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I'll give one more, and this is biased, and I don't care. Stop giving hate to DC. He's one of the greatest of all time.
What are you talking about?
People give a ton of crap to DC.
But he's also one of the most beloved fighters and personalities in the history of the UFC.
Just by me.
No, by many, many, many people.
A lot of people hate him, and they're like, whatever, I hate him, Jones.
I would say Kamaru Usman as well. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just poking you there.
No, Usman doesn't get enough hate, but don't get me started.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got a lot of these ones. Hopefully we answered that well. You got any queued up? Or
Yeah. This is from our good friend, Uncle Yagi at Inzuki_101. What's next for Cowboy? I want him to retire, man. I feel the UFC will try to use him as a gatekeeper again. They tried in the fight against Hernandez. Retire, man. You have absolutely nothing left to prove. You're 36. Go.
36 isn't that old, We've seen many fighters fight past 36. We've seen many fighters who Cowboys 3-2 in his last 5, correct?
That sounds right. That sounds right.
In the toughest division in the history of MMA. So I don't think him retiring makes all that much sense. I really like him taking a little time off and coming back and fighting someone like Anthony Showtime Pettis. Where
Felder. No?
What is Felder gonna earn? What does Felder get by beating Cerrone, who's coming off 2 straight losses?
Felder's not gonna get a better fight. That's where we disagree, bro. You think Justin Gaethje's gonna be like, yeah, I'll fight Paul Felder?
No, but I think Felder can fight Dustin Poirier.
That's a big step down for Poirier.
Poirier needs to bounce back, Phil. He just lost the title fight.
That's why he called out Conor. He'll whoop his ass.
That's pie in the sky. That ain't happening.
Yeah. All right.
So, anyways, did we answer that one? I don't know.
I think we did. Okay. Moving on. This is from one of our all-time favorites, one of my all-time favorites, Jim Assoon.
Jim.
Can't say enough good things about Jim Assoon, guys. If you're not following Jim Assoon, just start following him right now, and I'll forgive you. That's at Jim_Assoon. He says, with all the rumors floating around lately, do you think Woodley might be next for a title shot? And he used hashtag AskSplitPod.
I do not believe so.
You don't think he's getting a title shot?
No, I think they're going to wait and see if Colby's going to slow play this and make it an issue. I think they're going to wait and see who wins out of Nate and Masvidal. If Masvidal wins, I think he's clearly the next contender. So that's what I think.
Yeah, hard.
And I think Usman might actually just be sitting out until that fight plays out to see what his options are, because whatever this negotiating tactic Colby's doing, I was super confused by what he was saying when he was talking about his contract or whatever.
Well,
he was asking for more money.
So according to Ariel, and this is speculation on Ariel's part, so this isn't even confirmed by him, but I do trust him as a journalist. I know a lot of people don't like him. I respect that, but he does get the best guests, best interviews, so I do feel like I have to listen to him. And according to him, he believes that Usman and Colby are holding out together in a sign of allegiance, that they have decided their fight is worth a certain amount of money together, and they want that money.
I'm not buying that.
Really?
I'm not buying that, no.
Explain. Can you go into more detail?
Kamaru Usman, who paints himself, as a very strong, kind of strong-willed individual. I just think that his whole for him to build who he's become and then to go behind the scenes and work with Colby, who's basically been his sworn enemy, I just think that's a little beyond his character, but I could be wrong. I just don't see that as being authentic at all.
What if I said Usman's not interested in being authentic, he's interested in dollar signs?
I don't think you know Kamaru Usman that well. Maybe I don't know him that well.
Okay.
None of us know him that well. I just don't think that there's enough evidence that their fight is worth that much for them to be in cahoots,
Yeah. Okay.
The Nielsen ratings aren't going to bear out that Usman and Covington are super high, on the approval rating.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, do you have a next question, or should I go?
Yeah, I got one from Instagram from Octagon Jones.
Cool.
He says, just how good is Yair, and is Jeremy Stevens better than everyone gives him credit for? And he just says a banger, ?
All right.
So, how good is Yair? Well, he's only 27. I think he's very, very good. Do I think he's the best prospect in that division? No, I think that's got to be Zabit still at this point. But
is he champ? No, is he champ material?
Do I think he can win a title in the next 8 years? Yeah, I think he'll have the potential and opportunity to do so. Is he a surefire 100% can't miss title holder, I don't believe that either. But
gun to your head, will he be champ?
over the course of his career,
Yeah, yes.
considering the sitting champ is his same age and Zabit is younger, no, he will not. But he will be a consensus.
I agree. I don't think he'll ever be champ.
I think he'll be a consensus top 5 guy in that division for the next 8 to 10 years, potentially.
Really? Okay.
I think he could be... I don't know. It's hard to say. He's so young, and he hasn't fought enough to see vast improvements in his game. So this weekend will be big because Jeremy Stephens is going to test him in ways we really haven't seen yet.
That Korean Zombie victory was a fluky Hail Mary from the heavens.
But it wasn't... Okay, that portion was fluky, but... It's not like he didn't beat up the Korean Zombie also. Everybody acts
Korean
like he
Zombie was winning that fight, clearly.
He was
dude.
winning that fight, but it was a back and forth fight. Yair was landing all over the place. And in that time, since then, didn't the Korean Zombie come back and knock someone out in like 20 seconds?
Yeah, Haneto Moicano. He ended him.
So the Korean Zombie has the capability to knock guys out in 20 seconds.
Korean Zombie's amazing.
I know, you're not letting me finish. What I'm saying is he couldn't do that to Yair, which means that's a feather in Yair's cap.
Yeah, true.
In my opinion. Yair's not a guy you come in and knock out on the feet in 20 seconds. He's just not that guy.
True.
You know, I wouldn't have thought Moicano's that guy, but the proof is in the pudding. Yair took the Korean Zombie's best punch all night and was still there at the end. And yes, he landed a Hail Mary, but was he there to land a Hail Mary? Yeah, you can't land that shot if you get knocked out in 30 seconds.
True. That's true. Yeah, I agree.
All right. And Jeremy Stephens, I do believe, is underrated. He's trained with, you said he's training with Tony Ferguson now. He has trained with Dominic Cruz in the past. I think he's been in the UFC for almost 10 years, if not longer, has fought everyone. So, yes, he's underrated. He's a super tough test, and he brings a certain level of violence and brutality to each fight.
Yep, absolutely agree. Let me go next. Have we answered from at Jokers LL?
No.
Okay, at Jokers LL says, if Khabib beats Tony and the GSP fight falls through, who do you think will be Khabib's 30th opponent? Justin, Connor, or someone from 170? Go.
Well, if it was a perfect world, I don't like that he said except GSP. Because I think it'll be Tony, then GSP, honestly. And then Connor.
Well, no, hold up. Because I think he's 28-0 now. Right?
Yeah, so Tony would be 29.
Yeah.
And then GSP, in a perfect world, would be number 30 after Tony. Because Tony has to be next.
No, I hear you, but Khabib said he's going to retire 30-0, is what I'm saying.
Well, then Tony and GSP is the plan.
What? So he's saying, imagine GSP falls through.
but what I'm saying...
Which is possible.
Okay,
no, that's very possible that falls through, actually. I think it's very possible.
Well, if Khabib is 29-0, and he says he's retiring at 30-0, or on his 30th fight, the only fight left to even put him in the conversation as the greatest of all time would be GSP. Connor and Justin Gaethje don't do that for him.
Let me play devil's advocate, okay, really fast. Let's say that in the interim, while...
I've never heard Khabib say he's retiring at 30. I've heard that he's interested in fighting multiple more fights.
No, the newest thing is, I can confirm it for sure, the newest thing is him saying that he's retiring at 30-0. Which is, that is what it is.
It's hard to retire at 30-0 when you go 28-1.
Well, true. I think that's if he's...
So if he loses, does he still retire at 30 fights, or does he build it back?
I'm sure he won't retire at 30 if he loses.
So this is all kind of...
Wait. Okay, so if he doesn't fight GSP last, who else does he fight? That's a fair question.
Well, that's really hard to say because we don't know what the steps in between now and then are. But I would say Conor McGregor.
If Gaethje and McGregor fight while Tony and Khabib fight and Khabib wins that and Gaethje sleeps McGregor, it's going to be Gaethje 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a super tough question. Again, we're stuck with this like love triangle at the top, trying to figure out who the next challenger is, and just start knocking them off the list for us, please.
Yep.
Tony, then Connor, then Justin, and then GSP, and then you're the GOAT. But I don't see him going through that murderer's row from here.
Okay, did we answer from Shanatera?
We did not.
What's the worst knockout you've seen in a major MMA promotion? Not like who threw the best strike or who fell the scariest, but what knockout or TKO did you see and say, really?
Well, I think there was some confusion here. Really isn't like it's frightening, or really, I think you had a take on like a bad stoppage.
Yeah. So it's a great question. I did ask for clarification, but I did not get it. So
I would say scariest, not one of the scariest knockouts.
Okay. Want mine?
Certainly on the short list is Ben Askren.
I was just gonna say Askren.
Completely stiff, completely. His neck was bent. He was in like a fetal position. Visually, it was very frightening. And then if you understand the kind of force that the flying knee straight on your jaw can actually generate, it's basically the equivalent of a baseball bat on your jaw. So that was frightening. And then in the moment, I was really afraid for Rose when she got smashed on her head, because her neck bent all the way to the side and she went unconscious from that. Which is a sign of a pretty bad neck injury or potential neck injury. So the visual of her, I don't know if it was, I mean, it was just so abrupt and like brutal. That one was hard for me to see too.
Yep. And then another one that's coming to my mind that was this year was, I was obviously at UFC 238 live, and when Jessica I got slept by Val with the head kick, she was out cold for a good 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's scary.
And about 3 minutes in, there was this murmur that took over the stadium, and people started talking and looking to one another and saying, I mean, it was sketchy.
That is frightening.
Nobody
wants to see anybody permanently damaged.
No. I was deeply concerned that Jessica I had been killed.
Yeah, that's
which was messed up.
Yeah. So those are three off the top of my head or off the top of our head that were certainly visually hard to watch.
Yeah.
All right, I got one from Wheel Kick MMA. He says, looks like Bellator and UFC are both at an impasse in their light heavyweight division. Since John is not moving up, is it time for the two promotions to make a cross-promotional super fight? John versus Bader for the super champ. Hashtag AskSplitPod. I think the probability of this is like 0.00, so I don't really entertain it. Also, we've seen John beat Bader before, so I'm not all that intrigued. I do think we've seen a little regression in Jones and some improvement in Bader, but, they're separate organizations now, so I just don't see that happening. Not all really that interested in it personally.
Yeah, neither am I. I do think that, let me put it this way. I think that, Jones is going to lose in the next 2 years, whether he stays at 205 or goes up to heavyweight. If he goes up to heavyweight and fights Stipe, he'll lose badly and immediately. If he stays at 205...
But what if he doesn't?
No, I was just going to say, if he stays at 205, he may get another defense or even two. But that luck will run out. Get that big
Chris Weidman fight he's been waiting out for.
I'm
just kidding. Let's keep it moving.
We'll see what happens with Weidman. If anyone's going to beat him in the near term, I see it being Johnny Walker.
That's such a trendy pick right now.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. All right. I got one from Cirrus King. Show regular. Shout out Cirrus. I think that's how you say it, right?
I think it's Cyrus, but whatever.
Cyrus,
what up?
Where do you guys think the ceiling for Alexa Grasso is? I think she can be a spoiler dark horse. Do you agree? I think how old is she? 22?
She's very young. I can say
She's
that. Very young.
She's a striking dynamo. She's one of the top prospects. I consider her very similar to what I consider Yair. I expect her to be in the top 5 of her division. Once she gets up to speed and figures out the kind of fighter she's going to be, I think the skills are all there for her.
She's going to be, just to be clear, she's going to beat Esparza. I'm saying it right now, folks.
Well, even if she doesn't beat Carla Esparza, you're talking about a girl or a young fighter who's like 22 fighting a girl who's been multiple organization champion.
Yeah.
Carla Esparza was I believe she was an Invicta champion. She was the UFC champion. She was the Tough Show winner. So Carla Esparza is a very tough out. So this is, and I think she's almost like 7 years older than her, something.
That sounds right.
Crazy
about
like that.
Right.
So even if Grasso loses this fight, it's still going to be great experience. Doesn't hurt her star at all. But I expect her to be a title contender and at the top of that division once she figures out the kind of MMA fighter she wants to be for a long time.
Yep, agreed. Really quick, this is from, and please let me know if I'm mispronouncing this, bro. Kairos MMA. It's Kairos MMA, so that's at Kairos MMA. He says, hashtag AskSplitPod. Thank you for using the hashtag, bro. Is the Poirier, Colby, and Masvidal beef serious enough that someone actually needs to leave the gym, or can they just schedule around each other? Froda got 2 years for PEDs. Are some of these suspensions too harsh? Okay, so I guess that's 2 questions. I don't know if you heard Sarah Froda.
I heard. Who cares about Sarah Froda? Isn't she 0-2 with a bunch of face tattoos?
I don't. I never like to make fun of looks of anyone, but she looks like Elf from Lord of the Rings, and I just wanted to make fun of her.
Also, she's 0-2 as well, right?
Yeah,
so her performance wasn't impressive. Who cares?
Yeah, fuck Sarah Froda.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Do I think people should cheat, and do I think the penalties are too stiff?
No.
As a huge TJ Dillashaw fan, let me say,
gosh.
No, they're not too stiff.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so now his first question. Is the Poirier, Colby, and Masvidal beef serious enough that someone has to leave the gym?
No, I'm sure they can schedule around it, work around it.
Really?
If you listen, they all have different coaches. They all have, different schedules. They're not all in training camp together. American Top Team has multiple affiliates, I believe. I'm not positive on that, but I don't think it's just one singular location that they all go to. With that being said, someone like Dan Lambert, who owns the gym, owns the team, I don't think is going to want to lose top-level elite MMA talent. They do pay him.
Right.
So I'm sure they'll try to make it work for as long as they can because this is a business. But I have a feeling that those guys don't respect Colby, but that doesn't mean they want to beat Colby up. I think they think Colby's a clown. I think it's more or less they don't respect him. I don't think they're looking for him. These are pro fighters with careers and all kinds of stuff going on in their lives. I think it's a little more fun for us to fantasize about the pro fighters having all this beef behind closed doors, where these guys are just living their life. You know what I'm saying? More or less.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We haven't answered Mr. B yet, have we?
How dare us?
Okay. This is from at Mr. B 1986. Mr. B, what up? Quick side note on Mr. B. Mr. B is just like the man, and what will happen is, I don't know if you've ever sort of, you've been procrastinating and you've gone on Twitter and you get into a Twitter rabbit hole where you're like on this random thread within a thread within a thread that has nothing to do with MMA. Has this ever happened to you, Fight Geek?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, then I'm going to finish the story. So I'll go into like a thread within a thread within a thread that has nothing to do with MMA. I'm sidetracked, whatever. I'm trying to not do work. and Mr. B will be there. And I'll be like, Mr. B, what's up? And he's like, what up? And that's just a very special connection we have. And that was worth this moment in the podcast.
It's like running into him in a bar on vacation, huh?
Right? It's like running into him in a bar on vacation. You nailed it. You nailed it. That is exactly what it's like. Okay, moving on. He says, 2 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on Mayweather's only UFC fighter, Mahmoud Muradov, signing with UFC? And 2, do you think Floyd's influence will affect how he's matched up? Go ahead, Fight Geek.
I do not believe that his influence will have anything to do with the matchmaking. And until I see him perform in the UFC, I really don't have a lot of thoughts on him.
Yeah, very hard to disagree with that. I think, Mayweather and his fighter, they'll get leverage when Mayweather's fighter proves his leverage, right?
Exactly. I mean,
yeah. So
there's not many people who have leverage other than Ali Abdelaziz, to my knowledge.
Right.
So
I think that's
all right.
fair.
I got one here from Kev at KevC918 says, if Jorge Masvidal beats Nate Diaz at UFC 244, should he fight someone like Leon Edwards next or go straight to the title? Keep up the awesome work. Ask Split Pod. Thanks for using that hashtag. He's certainly not fighting Leon Edwards, a.k.a. Scott. He's going to be fighting for a title if he beats Nate Diaz. This is not just the BMF title. This is for the welterweight notoriety title as well. This is to see who the most famous man in the division is, not necessarily the best, I guess you'd say.
So I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but I want your opinion again, Fight Geek. Where do you fall on the UFC making the BMF belt? I don't like it. I think it's corny.
It is corny, but I don't care. It's cool when it comes to these two.
Just promote it as the BMF title. You don't need to make a fake belt, bro. No?
Well, for Maymac, they made a Maymac belt.
Yeah. That was a dope-ass alligator skin belt.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Make this one snakeskin. Make it bad. Make it real bad.
The Mayweather-McGregor belt was dope. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This belt is in that vein. It's just a show belt. It's just to put something out there that you can put on your belt and be like, this is the night I beat Nate Diaz or Jorge Masvidal, yada, yada.
Yeah, but the fact that it's a belt, it hurts the belts a little. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it does hurt them a little.
It hurts the belts a little? You know what hurts the belts a little?
Absolutely.
What hurts the belts is that Colby carries his around calling himself the People's Champ, the one from a year and a half ago or whatever. That hurts the belt. The interim belts, this don't hurt the belts. The belts are ruined right now.
Well, the welterweight.
Specifically. All right, let's keep it moving.
Yep. Okay, all right. Did we answer? AK, if you had the option to pick a fighter to retire for good, who would you choose? Hashtag #SplitPod. This is at KillaKillaFlow, and that's AK. Yeah.
So if there's one fighter in the UFC I wish would retire...
Can I go first?
Sure.
You've been going first a lot. BJ Penn.
I think he was just forced into retirement, but I think that's low-hanging fruit, though. You got anybody a little more creative than that?
It's absolutely a lazy, low-hanging fruit answer. That was me on autopilot 100%.
I'll say DC.
Yeah, good call. Agreed. Yeah.
There's nothing left for that dude.
I'm hearing rumblings that I hope are wrong. That, just for the record, I hope they're wrong. Hearing rumblings that he wants the Stipe trilogy.
Of course he's gonna want that. All right, I got one from Glitch at MMA Port. He says, "How many fights does Cowboy have left in the tank before retirement?" Over under 4.
Over. Oh man, I'd put money on over.
Yeah, by the end of 2020. No, I'm just...
Listen, no. If there's an over-under that's like even odds for 4 fights on Cerrone, I'm
at 36.
Over for sure, bro.
So if he fights 3 times a year for the next 4 years till he's 40, that's 12 more fights. Where do you think he is in regards to 12? I'd say 7 more fights in his career, honestly.
Agreed. That's a good number.
All right, so 7 more.
That's a lot.
Fights.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, if he wins, let's say he goes 4-3 in those 7. He will be.
He won't, by the way. He won't. It'll be worse, but that's okay.
It'll be like 3-4.
Yeah.
So he finishes
2 and
his
5.
career.
2 and 5.
I don't know. I guess we'd have to see. But
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
I'd say around 7 fights probably left in his career.
The problem
But
is
just
taking
because
on all
he's a
these
madman-
killers.
Yeah, well, that's why he needs to go back and fight a couple name fights and not so many top of the food chain fights.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we got here? Okay, the Baz says, if Colby stays with ATT, do you still buy the whole feud is legit? I'm skeptical. I just answered, I think that the feud probably is legit, but it's legit and different than we see it. They don't respect him as a teammate or a man. I don't think they're like actively out looking to start crap with each other. Like I said, they all have career objectives. They have families. They have lives. I think it's more fun for us to fantasize about like the behind-the-scenes brawls.
Yeah, no, let me just weigh in on this really fast. So people that think that like the Colby Jorge stuff is fake, this is what I have to say. Put yourself in Jorge Masvidal's shoes, right? He does not need a feud with Colby. It makes, financially speaking, it makes no sense.
Right, he's surpassed him as a draw.
He's beyond him, and he's got this Nate Diaz BMF thing. There's no reason to have a Colby feud. It makes no sense.
Have you heard the reason? I heard that Colby stiffed one of his coaches.
One of Jorge's coaches?
Yes, one of Jorge's coaches specifically had an issue with Colby, and Jorge just kind of sided with his coach, basically, from what I've been hearing.
I mean, according to, again, I don't want to treat this guy as gospel, but according to Ariel Helwani, a big MMA reporter, they have not been friends for quite some time.
Yeah, and it happened over a cornering issue with, I believe, Colby and Jorge's coach.
Like some time ago, right?
I think the Dos Anjos fight.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. If anybody knows, fill us in.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of this stuff, so I can get my wires crossed every now and again.
All right.
Do we have anyone else for the questions?
Oh man, I don't want to.
All right, guys, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We're at Split_podcast. That's 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.